second presentation will be by Sonali DAHOTRE on ecological landscapes, the ecological way forward. She has absorbed a great knowledge about ecology, natural resource management, restoration and sustainable development. She has also learned ornithology, anthropology and herpetology because of her interest in ecology. Currently, she is a visiting faculty in many colleges in Pune and enlightening the students with her vast knowledge. She runs a firm called Sparrow with an initiative that tries to look at landscape projects from an ecological point of view.
So that's ecological landscapes, the economical way forward. Um, I will begin by, I think, by thanking Varsha ma'am because I worked in her office and that was my first beginning of ecology. From there, I started the ecological, started as in, I enrolled myself for the Ecological Society course, for which Varsha ma'am paid the fees. So I think I'm very grateful to her. I'll begin now. So my design principle is that in nature nothing exists alone, and everything has, to every action there is going to be, any action there is going to be a reaction. So I design all my projects based on this. So I'll show a few things that I'm doing currently or completed. So the first one is a organic tourism project which I completed in Penpali, Khopoli area, which now they call it Forganics. So it's a 22-acre site where this is the site, and it was a sloping site adjacent to a river, and the brief was to make an organic farm. So this was my first experience as organic farm project. I'm not trained for that, but there was a necessity because I'll tell you why. So we did a biodiversity survey first of this site, in which we found that there were rare and endemic and threatened species of frogs, butterflies. There were innumerable amounts of snakes. There was at least, I saw 2 pythons on site. There were more than 20 species of butterflies and more than 100 species of plants. Now on such a site, clients proposed to raise down everything and do organic farming. So my first few meetings, the interactions were like this, that I'm saying that there are old native trees with nests of rare birds, which we found during the biodiversity survey, and we should protect this area. And clients were like, no, let's cut down all the trees so that we have a river view from the upper part of the site. Then I said that there is a 3-meter python on site. And that same day, we came to know that they had employed a villager on daily wage basis to kill the checkered keelback snakes that came to the lake because they thought that they would eat their fish. Then there was a state where they said that farming, I was saying that farming should be done organically, like One Straw Revolution, where he has proved that you can do organic farming and it can be economical. And client said that, no, I want a high-tech farm with cameras in the field, which I can see from my office in Mumbai. So these were the kind of challenges that I started with, and then I realized that yes, landscape architect is needed on this site, not from the design maybe point of view, but for the master planning and to demonstrate that such sites can be economically viable. Eventually clients took organic, they visited similar sites which are doing organic farming throughout the country, and that was the kind of turning point where now they are more pro the ecology than maybe even I am. So we began with this, where I won't go into details, but what you can probably see are the various colors. So the various colors are different allocated for areas allocated for different activities related to ecology. So this is eventually the plan that we came up with, where there was only one road that is also not tarred or anything. It's just a rammed earth road that was allowed. And we made a biggish lake here in which they do aquaculture. And then we got, because we had to generate money they had invested a lot of money in this land. And finally they had to get results and returns, otherwise it would be a failed exercise. So then we came up with these forest trails on the entire site. So there is a butterfly walk, there is a village walk, there is a lake walk, there is a farm walk. So in all these walks, the visitors are told about the ecological elements of that particular walk. So maybe on the road walk, we have planted native trees, so they are told about that and their environmental significance. And now they have students coming from Mumbai on the weekends, and they are given all this knowledge about ecology. This is the pond where that lake that we made, over 1.5 acres. So 1.5 acres of purchased land, and we proposed to make it into a lake. And there was a big fight about it, but eventually we realized that that is necessary. And it's a totally organic farm where I can say that we did not get 1 centimeter or 1 cubic centimeter of soil from outside. Everything what was existing, there were existing farms on the site. So those farms, we kind of, the soil had lost its nutrient value, so we treated it organically and made it more productive. So there is that whole process which I cannot go into right now. But here you can see the proof that that ladybug is doing its job of. And now we have school children. There are various activities that go on. There is the sky gazing activity. There is adventure sports. So it's a combination of activities for children. It's not just a boring educative tour. They get to do some fun play also. So I try to put it down in terms of the economics, that what is my client gaining by doing this ecological way. So then so if I just start reading out native trees and the output that they give. So per year they may give some 10,000 rupees per year. Then there is coconut plantation that we've done, areca nuts, fruit trees have been planted in between. There is a forest patch that we have reserved that that also gives some produce. There is aquaculture that's happening in the lake, and per day they get close to 3,000 rupees from that, in which they have put the rohu fish. Then there are seasonals like marigold, tulsi, lemongrass, and all this is sold in Mumbai because they have a dairy also there where of desi cows, and so the grazing also happens along the roads. We've planted grasses which are conducive for those cows, and they send milk to Mumbai twice a day. So all this is also becomes possible where they can send in the marigold and lemongrass and tulsi and all that. And then there are school trips. There are weekend tourists where they lease out the cottages to people. And there are stargazing activities. Now they are starting with bird watching activities. So there are a number of ways in which economics can be, or money can be generated from a site. You need not really have to flatten it out every time. What the initial plan was that we raise down everything and then try to get rice out of it, which is not very viable, because organic farming, the produce is less. Even the area is less, area is more, or produce is always going to be less. So this is another project in a very urban context, because normally I am told that you practice ecology and that's you get beautiful sites, and so you can do whatever ecological principles you want to apply there. So even in an urban context, it is very much possible, where this is a restaurant in a very dense or very highly populated junction in Pimpri Chinchwad. And here the brief was that we don't want birds, we don't want butterflies, we don't want bees, we definitely don't want snakes and lizards and garden lizards, because it's a restaurant, people are going to come there. So then I thought about it that, okay, it's not, ecology doesn't just mean plants and animals and birds and bees, it also means the materials we use. So the tables that you see, the owner had said that we can kind of do away with them and we can design new tables. And then I thought that there is no point in throwing away these and getting new ones which look similar to this. So we just refurbished the tables, and the tiles were changed, and the wood that you see on the pergolas is all jungly wood that we got. This is the fastest project that I did in 30 days straight, start to finish, because it's a restaurant, we didn't want to keep it closed, it's a running restaurant. So I think that just does not mean ecology. It just does not mean the birds and animals and the plants. It also means the approach or the way you look at the the bigger picture or the longer run, what the earth will benefit from. So this is another of my principle, that design need not be expensive. Why should design be expensive? We are taught about design, or we learn design in architecture, so design should not be expensive. So there is this whole new trend about being ecological, organic and environmental, and all these have become the current budgetary price tags. So we are taught to design, we should design using those principles, but it need not be expensive. So this is one residence that we're currently doing in Chipudun, which is for a friend. He and I, we met at a ornithology course, and he purchased it out of sentimental reasons, where he took a loan and purchased it, and for his father or something like that. And it's a small plot of 8,000 square feet, where 5,000 or more is the landscape area. Now the intervention here had to be very less, and the total budget, you will be surprised, for this project is 2 lakh rupees, including my fees, including my site visit charges, including the labor, including the material, including the plants that we get there, including the manure, fertilizer, whatever is required, it has to come in that 2 lakh rupees. Okay, so then how do you work back? So then I had to reduce on my site visits, because I cannot go every time to check the line out, to check the levels and things like that. So then I started reinventing this, that you have to send the drawings in the local language that the local person would understand. So then I started making these drawings in Marathi. And then on WhatsApp, I can send them the drawings, because they don't have mails. And it had to be the local labor, because only they work with this kind of material. I cannot take a contractor from Pune or Mumbai and afford to pay his fees. So that all had to be economized. Then there was this part where even the language, we call it Chira in our side, they call it Fadi that side. In Chipudun, they call it Fadi, this stone. So you have to learn that language, then put it on your drawings. Then there was this part where there is absolutely no soil on that site. So it starts with murmi soil. So for my plants to grow, there is no cow shed also nearby. So we put a bag of cow dung cakes that you see in this, and just threw it on the site before monsoon to generate some sort of microorganic activity on that site. So this entrance portion is a rice field that I have proposed. There is a house here, there is a house here, there is a house here, and there is a rice farm here. So this, my friend is mad, and he has purchased this on a loan, but he wants to dedicate it to nature. The house, he wants to give away to nature. So we are doing a Miyawaki forest here. Now Miyawaki is another buzzword, and there were few viral videos and posts on Facebook where someone did a successful Miyawaki plantation in Aurangabad. Now Aurangabad has a black cotton soil, so they could afford to dig 1 meter deep and plant. And I do not believe, I follow that one-star evolution principle, where you don't dig the soil at all unless the initial first layer. So for plantation, that's required for plantation. So here I could not work with that sort of a principle of digging 1 meter deep. So we are trying to layer it up with additional plant material. So collecting leaf litter from neighbors, from the existing whatever we have. It's going to be a slow process, but we were hoping to plant now. So this is the Miyawaki that I have come up with after reading a lot of things, where there is, on the periphery, there are fruit trees. So these pink dots that you see are the fruit trees that are on the periphery. And each box has its own color-coded thing, where there is one forest tree, there is either a fruit tree or a forest tree, there is one shrub and one climber. And I have sort of adapted or adopted it to what suits Konkan, what I think will suit Konkan. And according to this, there are these 135 blocks, which is 1 meter by 1 meter block each. And this I have further coded as, these are only 30 boxes of the first 30 boxes that you see on this. But each box is color coded, so I don't have to go there. Whatever plants the nursery person sends from there, they will just sort of pick up box number 1, tree, shrub, climber, and plant it in that position. So the marking for 1 meter by 1 meter will be done. After that, there is no need to visit, because otherwise it doesn't become economical at all. So this I'm hoping to do once the monsoon stops. We were hoping to do it last month, but the rains have been bad this time. This is a pet project which I think I've shown many times, but please bear with me, there are few new members. This is a very scenic site in Harne, Dapoli. The brief was for 1.5 acre site which had to be made into a weekend home for a person living in Mumbai. Now there, the site offers views like this. This is Anzarle beach. There is a mangrove, which is this. And there is a Suvarnadurg fort, which is seen from the uppermost portion. And there is this fishing village that is there at the bottom. So it is a steeply sloping site, slope of 1:5. Site did not have any vegetation. So barring a few clusters of mixed vegetation and huge boulders, there was no vegetation, and there was barely any soil cover. So first thing we did was protect all the mixed vegetation plantation, and protect all the boulders. So we did not touch anything at all. We did not allow a JCB on site even for 1 hour. So JCB was totally out. And after doing the biodiversity survey, I realized that this is an apex sort of a niche where you get all apex species on that site. So the numbers will be less, but there is a vast number of species that you see. So the challenges were to get a regional context, that is the Konkani character. There is a forest which is here. So I wanted to connect this because of the road, that it sort of gets disconnected from the forest. It has got disconnected. So I wanted to connect this back with the forest. And water was a big problem because it's a steeply sloping site, and Konkan has a runoff of 90% and plus. So there is barely any percolation that happens, and at 1:5, it's very difficult. So steep slope and water harvesting was a big, yeah, I'm done. So this is a site plan of, so the villas came here because there is this state highway, though it's a very road which is not much used, not much traffic, but it's a state highway. So we had to leave that 40 meters from there. So we got only this portion to construct the house. So of all the 1.5 acres that client purchased, we got only this. This is the steep section that will give you a fair idea of the slope. So the first thing we did was live fencing, because I wanted to save money also and use it for other things. So live fencing is the first thing that is going to save on money, and it's on top of a hill. So being there, I didn't want it to be a sore spot and sort of stand out from everything else. That was very beautiful. And the slopes we utilized for making the plinth tanks for saving water. And local wood and chira was used. So a rough idea of what we could save. So just the compound wall saved me 5 lakh rupees. Me matlab the client. And it, of course, it blended with the surroundings, and it is a habitat for insects and birds, which is more important to me than saving that 5 lakh rupees. No JCB on site, that saved close to 6,000 rupees per day. There is no cement on any of the treads that are there. So it allows seasonal ground covers to come up, and some amount of water percolation. There is a segregated modified tanks that I do on all my sites, which modified septic tank helps to, I think Anushri also showed something like that, but I don't have an open system, I have a closed system, because these places are not used on a daily basis since these are weekend houses. Then there is no leveling, no cut fill, no retaining walls in the landscape, and development is as per the natural contours. Existing vegetation clusters of native ranti is what is the colloquial. When we don't understand, we call it ranti. So the first thing anyone does on any site is just clear it off, whatever vegetation is there. So that we did not do, and all the existing boulders were retained. And the slopes were used for constructing plinth tanks, like I already said. So it has its own benefits for the ecology, which I've listed on the other side. Groundwater pollution is one that happens because of the modified septic tank. doesn't happen because of the septic. These are few images that I would like to run through after completion of the landscape. That so instead of roof, I used coconut leaf mats, which are 2 rupees. Then a Mangalore tile, which is a reused tile, will cost 5 or 6 rupees. So we use reused Mangalore tiles in all our projects. We don't buy anything. And this is what you will see on any given day. So not just migratory season or any season. Any given day you go there, and this is the minimum variety that you will see. And in large numbers. So even if the picture shows one, they are there in huge numbers. So this is what it is. Before we started, it was as barren as that, and that is also a monsoon image. So it's looking green. But the first time I went, I could not walk from this point to this point because it was a very steep slope, and we had to walk all the way down the road. So which is the upper point and the lowermost point. So after that, now this is what it is after 4 years. And I mean, now it must have grown. I've not been there for the past 2 years, but yeah, okay. So thank you.